Listen, so their policy is you can't record in here.
You're NYP now? You're NYPD now?
Always been. Listen,
no.
You have to leave because you're not allowed to record in here.
You want to read their policies?
Their policies that you cannot record in here.
The first line.
Their staff is asking us for a review, and I don't remember you.
I remember you.
Oh, that's nice. I hope you like me. Time to go. All right?
Why would I need to leave? I have a right to be here, and I'm conducting business.
No, you're not conducting business. And the thing is that you have to go through.
Read the policy right there. I'm handing it to you.
Told me.
Who is he?
The security guard, the head security guard said that you need to leave, and they have a right to kick you out.
Photography and photocopying policy, right? I'm going to read it to you because if you violate my rights, you can't say that you didn't know.
That's our job.
It's no negotiation. No.
So you could just ask anybody to leave a public building just because.
Yes.
They want you to.
They said they're filing complaints from every staff member on every single floor that you're recording them and you're being a nuisance, and you're not allowed to do that inside the library.
How am I being a nuisance?
You have to leave.
How am I being a nuisance?
You are recording them and you are not allowed to do that inside
So photography is a nuisance?
Sir?
Can I speak to your supervisor, please?
They can't record in here, right? You're willing to... Nope. All right.
Read this. Handheld cameras are permitted.
Listen.
First line. Handheld cameras are permitted. This is their rules.
You have to...
Why?
Why? Because you are not allowed.
What crime am I committing?
You're not part of any media. You did not have prior permission to record in here. You now have to leave.
I do have permission.
Step out civilly?
I want to speak to your supervisor.
No problem. He's going to tell you the same thing.
No, he's not.
Tell you.
He's going to honor his oath to the Constitution.
Let's make it back.
I don't want to deal with you because I already got you on camera.
Go ahead.
Cursing me out, so I don't want to deal with you. I don't want to deal with you. I'd rather deal with somebody that I never had contact with. Because right now it seems like retaliation.
Alright guys, what you're about to witness isn't just another public encounter. This is where control starts to override logic. It begins inside a public library, a space funded by taxpayers, where a man calmly records with a handheld camera. No shouting, no disruption, just quiet documentation. But within seconds, tension builds. Staff immediately approach, claiming recording is not allowed, pushing a policy without explanation. The auditor questions them calmly, asking a simple thing: why must he leave a public place he has every right to be in? Instead of answers, he's met with pressure. Authority enters the scene early, not to investigate, but to enforce discomfort. And just like that, a normal situation turns into a confrontation. This is the moment where rights begin to clash with unchecked authority, and things are only getting started.
At all. You didn't do no investigation. You just went off of his word, right?
Why
are you asking me to leave a public place I have a right to be?
They want you to leave, so you gotta leave.
Okay, what if they wanted me to smack myself? I gotta smack myself?
No, that's different.
Right. I have a right to be here just like everybody else. I'm not being disorderly. I'm walking around peacefully recording. The public workers. Can I record you? Can I record you? So why can't I record the city workers?
They're not city workers.
They work. New York is funded.
They're security guards.
The public library is funded by tax dollars.
You record me all you want.
I can record government workers in the course of their duty. Read case law. You need to read case law because you enforce the law.
My job right now is to get you out of this building.
Why? What crime did I commit?
They don't want you in here.
Why would they ask me to leave?
You're being disorderly. You're being a nuisance, and now you have other people watching.
How am I being a nuisance? How?
You were
by simply recording?
They asked you to stop recording.
They never asked me to leave. They never asked me to leave.
Because I can ask him and he can say the opposite.
I have on camera. Have you guys ever asked me to leave since I've been here? Have you asked me to leave? Have you asked me to leave since I've been here? Nope. First thing they said when I came in the building was you could record.
Listen, you can hang out here, wait.
I'm going to wait for your supervisor.
My lieutenant's going to be here.
Why not honor your oath? Why not protect my rights?
I'm honoring my oath.
I'm in a public building.
These nice men called me here, and they called us to escort you out of this building, and that's as far as I'm concerned with
Why would you escort me out the building?
We don't need to continue any more conversation.
You escort me out if I'm being disorderly, if I'm somewhere I'm not supposed to be, if I'm impeding business.
They said you were not allowed to record.
Can I finish my sentence?
Can I finish my
carefully? Because this is where the narrative starts falling apart. The auditor stands his ground, calmly explaining that he is conducting lawful activity. Recording in public spaces, especially government-funded ones, is protected. But logic doesn't land here. Instead, officers repeat one phrase like a script: you have to leave. No law cited, no crime committed, just blind enforcement of a policy they barely understand. The auditor even reads the policy himself: handheld cameras are permitted. That should end it, right? Wrong. The officers ignore it completely. This isn't about law anymore. This is about control. They lean on words like nuisance without defining it, hoping repetition replaces reasoning. And right here, you can feel it, the shift from public service to authority dominance. This is where the system stops listening and starts demanding obedience.
You work for me. You work for me.
I also work for them.
You work for me.
So you understand that, right?
And they're not exercising their rights. I am.
Yeah. No,
Peacefully.
They are peacefully asking us to escort you out.
For what crime?
You're not allowed to record in here.
He just said I was. And it says right here on their policies. Read their policies.
He actually just said you weren't allowed to record in here.
He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Listen, he's the head security guard as far as I'm concerned.
Read the policy.
And we were asked to escort you out.
Read their policy.
I don't need to read their policy.
So I'm not violating their policy, so why would you ask me to leave?
I abide by what the security
And I'm not
guards
breaking
say.
the law.
Listen, this is a civil matter, and
I don't want to talk to you no more because this is retaliation. You're trying to retaliate against me
for what?
because I recorded you before. So
I don't remember you ever recording.
I remember you. I remember you. You work at Midtown South, right?
It's on my press bar.
Yeah, I didn't even look at that. I already know.
It's right here.
If I was somewhere I'm not supposed to be, if I was cursing people out, if I was being disorderly,
Listen, I'm just here to escort
every
you
time I
out of
talk,
the
you cut me off.
Listen, like you said, you
Me
don't wanna
simply
speak, then don't
recording,
speak.
me recording is not a disorder. Is not a disturbance.
You're being a disturbance to these people.
How?
They asked you to leave. I don't know.
Because
Listen,
they
I
don't
wasn't
like
here
what I'm
all
doing.
day.
What if they didn't like my shirt?
really-
What if they didn't like my religion? They're gonna
Why
escort
is
me
your
out of a
religion
public
getting
building?
involved? This is just
Because
about
this
you
is a
recording
right.
inside the library.
It's called freedom of religion. So if I was praying
The staff
here,
has asked you to leave.
Ma'am,
I don't know what more you want me to say.
if I was praying in this library and they didn't like that I was my religion, they wanted me out because I was praying. You going to enforce their feelings, or do I have freedom of religion?
Are you praying right now?
I wanted to.
So
I came to this library for
go
multiple
ahead and
reasons.
pray.
You going to ask me to leave while I'm praying because they don't like my religion?
What is going on right here? We didn't find you praying.
I'm going to pray before I leave.
This is where things start to spiral. The auditor pushes back, not with aggression, but with clarity. He asks direct questions. What crime did he commit? Why is he being asked to leave? And once again, no real answer comes. Instead, the officers double down, labeling peaceful recording as disruptive behavior. Think about that. A man quietly holding a camera is now considered a problem. The contradiction is impossible to ignore. The auditor even compares it to religion, asking if someone could be removed just for practicing their beliefs. And suddenly, silence. Because deep down, they know the answer. But instead of correcting course, they continue forward. This isn't enforcement anymore. This is escalation. Every second shows a growing gap between what the law says and what authority is choosing to do.
Business.
The only way
I came here to utilize the library for its purposes.
The only way I'm leaving here right now is if my lieutenant tells me you can stay.
Why wouldn't I be able to stay? I'm not being disorderly. All I'm doing is walking around quietly recording the New York City public workers, which I have a right to do. I can record the government while you're at work.
You'll see what my lieutenant says, okay? How about that? Deal? And then
Sure, that's why I asked for him.
And if you're good to stay, then I'll leave.
The
No
Constitution and the law says I'm okay.
Constitution has
What
nothing
you
to do
swore an
with
oath
this
to do.
library. No.
What does the Constitution have to do with?
Business.
Does the Constitution have to do with your job?
Oh. This is.
Does the
maybe
Constitution
actually-
have to do with your
This
job?
has nothing to do with the Constitution. This
It
is
does for
just
me.
us asking
It does
you to
for
leave
me.
Because they said you're being disorderly, and they're not comfortable with you recording
you
inside
wanna-
here, and they said that you're not allowed to record inside here. We don't
Read
have
their
to.
policies. Read it. Read the first line. Read the first bulletin.
They just gave this to me. That last bullet point says
Let me
no
see.
photographs of the staff, other researchers, or certain reading rooms may be taken.
That's what.
Okay,
they're
they work for the
about.
government. There's case law that I can
doesn't
record
matter.
It
them.
That's
doesn't
part of their
matter.
policy,
That's what we're
and they
here
don't
to
wanna be
explain to you. They
recorded.
said that the staff members don't want you recording.
Okay, I'm still not committing a crime. I have a right to be in a public
And they
building.
have the right to escort you out.
Why would they do that if I'm conducting business?
But you're not anymore. They're asking you to
I
stop.
am though, because I still have to
If you
file
wanna stay in
complaints.
this- if you wanna stay in
I
this
still have to
library,
file
you have to
complaints.
stop though.
I still have to
not-
file complaints, and I still have to do a FOIA request.
You want?
And I still want to pray before I leave.
How do you file a complaint?
On the first floor.
First,
Circulation desk, they'll hand them a piece of paper and they'll fill it out.
do you want to go to the first floor?
I was going there before you guys came.
Well, listen, I have no problem you filing a complaint.
If I was committing a crime,
Because this is where the truth gets exposed. The officers openly admit something shocking. This situation has nothing to do with the Constitution. Let that sink in. The very document they swore to uphold is now irrelevant in their decision-making. Instead, they prioritize feelings, comfort, and internal policy. The auditor doesn't back down. He reminds them again and again, policy cannot override law. But the response stays the same. Repetition, deflection, avoidance. They refuse to engage with facts. And this is the real danger. When authority stops recognizing the limits of its power, everything changes. What you're watching is no longer just a disagreement, it's a breakdown of accountability. A moment where those in charge forget who they actually serve. And the longer it goes on, the clearer it becomes.
To escort me out.
This
is a public building.
Yes.
You cannot put policy over law. You cannot put policy over law. What if the policy said no black people? You want to enforce that? You can't put policy over law.
That's not going to happen.
The government can't make policies that violate the law or the Constitution. Yeah, I'm going there. You put policy over law? Since when? Fuck out of here. I recorded libraries in every 5 boroughs, all 5 boroughs. And it's not a problem because it's not against the law. You swore to protect my rights. You're supposed to come here and enforce the law, not their policy.
This floor? One more floor? Okay.
Am I being detained?
You're not in cuffs. No, you're not.
So I'm free. So I'm free.
No, you
Am I being
to
detained?
Leave. You have to leave.
Am I detained for a crime?
Being detained means you're being stopped and you're under investigation.
Am I being detained for a crime?
I just explained to you, not being detained. You do
All right, then. So that means I'm free, right?
I feel like she's explaining things.
Am I detained for a crime?
Come on.
Am I detained for a crime?
We're gonna go downstairs and you can make a complaint.
You can go wherever you want. I'm free. I'm not detained.
We are going downstairs and you can either leave or you can go make a complaint. They don't want you in here. They have a right to not have you in here. If you want to take that up civilly, go right ahead and you can make a complaint and start that process.
Even more intense. The auditor continues dismantling every argument thrown at him. He asks the simplest question, what law am I breaking? And again, there's no answer. Not one. Instead, officers cling tighter to policy, repeating it like it's above everything else. But here's the reality, policy is not law. And deep down, they know it. That's why the conversation keeps looping, going nowhere. The auditor stands firm, calm but relentless, refusing to accept vague accusations. This is what accountability looks like. Not loud, not reckless, just persistent truth. And you can see the frustration building on the other side. Because when facts are clear, the only option left is force. And that's exactly where this situation is heading.
He says right here, no.
I don't care about their policy, bro. I don't care about their policy, bro. I'm not breaking the law.
What you're doing in here,
I'm not breaking the law. No, they don't. No, they don't.
You're violating the
No, they
staff
don't.
members.
I have a constitutional right to record in public. It's called the First Amendment. It's called the First Amendment. You know what the Constitution is? The highest law of the land. You can't put a fucking library's policy over the Constitution. Are you crazy? You swore over to the Constitution. You didn't swear over to the library's policy. And if they deny me public services, I'm going to sue them. If you violate my rights, I'm going to sue you. You ain't swear over to the library's policy. You forgot what your oath is to? The Constitution. Smug ass. Took an oath for what? Where's your lieutenant at so I can speak to him?
He's on his way. He's on another job.
He probably has more pressing matters than somebody exercising their rights in a public building. Listen, what? Are you gonna honor your oath?
It is what it is. I'm
so what is it? No, it's not.
To escort you out.
Let me ask you a question.
You violated their policy.
Let me ask you a question. Can you put that policy over the law?
Did you not violate their policy? That's right here, sir.
What's higher, that policy or their law?
This is their right. This is their building. This is their establishment.
This is our building. It's the people's building.
Their establishment,
it's a people's
and they have
building.
a right to escort
it's
you
a
out.
public
now,
building.
I'm here to do this civilly,
I pay taxes to be in this building.
Here, okay? My lieutenant's pulling up. Is that him right there?
This is the breaking point. The officers fully abandon reasoning and shift into enforcement mode. They don't explain, they command. Leave, or face consequences. No crime, no evidence, just authority backed by pressure. The auditor calls it out directly, you cannot place policy above the Constitution. And that line hits hard. Because it's the core of everything happening here. The officers hesitate, but they don't correct themselves. Instead, they push forward, hoping compliance will end the situation. But this isn't just about leaving anymore. This is about principle. About whether rights exist only when convenient, or all the time. And right now, that answer is being tested in real time.
No,
well, he could come find me.
That's not him. That's traffic with the lights on.
You put policy over law?
I'm putting them right now.
Of course you do.
This is my job.
Of course you do.
This is
Of
what I'm
course
here for.
your job is to enforce the law.
Do you want to make a complaint?
Your job is to enforce the law. Is there a law being broken right
Do
now?
you want to come?
What law am I breaking?
Do you want to make a complaint?
Yeah,
Walk away
don't.
from my
Yeah, avoid that
lieutenant?
question.
Come on.
Avoid that question. What law am I
I've
breaking?
already answered you multiple times.
What
You're
law am I
being
breaking?
disorderly. You're not
How?
under arrest.
How
You
am
are not
how am I
under
being
arrest.
disorderly, ma'am?
Because you're
I'm
violating
recording?
their policy.
Photography
right here,
isn't a
right
crime
here.
in
Look,
public.
No photographs of the staff, other
Photography
researchers,
isn't
or
a
certain
crime
meeting
in
rooms
public,
may be taken.
and you can't turn photography into.
Why'd you show us that piece
You
of
can't
paper?
turn
Now that
photography
now that
into
we
a
pointed
crime.
that out, now it doesn't
You
matter.
can't
Now
to
the
show
piece
you
of paper
how
means nothing.
because I record in libraries all over the city.
You're contradicting
Because I have the right
yourself.
to.
You're contradicting yourself.
No, I'm not. I'm following the law.
Yes, you are.
The law that you swore to protect. You enforce the law. You enforce
what we're
policies.
doing.
So
That's
what
we're
law
doing.
am I
We're doing our
breaking?
job.
What law
You're
am I
being
breaking?
disorderly.
How? By
Oh, the
recording?
lieutenant is right here.
Okay. Is he going to help me file my complaint?
He keeps saying he's violating his rights, that we're violating his rights because he's clearly breaking their policy that says no photographs of the staff, other researchers, or certain reading rooms may be taken. And he's saying we're violating his constitutional right that he's allowed to record in here and their policy doesn't matter. And he requested you because
you
we're
doing?
violating his rights.
All right.
Or this is what I said. I said you can't put their library policy over the law. I'm not breaking the law, which means I have a right to be here. It's a public building.
Okay.
My taxes fund this building. Do I not have a right to be here?
Okay.
Here comes the moment of truth. A lieutenant finally arrives, and for a second, there's hope that logic might return. But instead, the confusion deepens. Even with everything explained, even with policy contradictions exposed, the outcome doesn't change. The same stance remains: leave. The auditor stands his ground one last time, reinforcing his rights, making it clear that he's done nothing wrong. But authority doesn't bend. It holds its position, not because it's right, but because it refuses to admit it's wrong. And this right here is the reality many don't see. It's not always about justice. Sometimes, it's just about control.
Doesn't want you at this location.
Why? Because I'm exercising my rights in public?
You have to
I'm conducting business in this building, and once I finish my business, I was going to leave.
I know, they don't want you here anymore.
I have to file a complaint. I have the right to redress my government.
I know, but you have to do that. You could probably file a complaint outside, but you have to leave. They don't want you here.
Am I breaking the law?
Well,
Nobody asked me to leave. You guys are the first person that came up to me.
you have to leave.
So if I don't leave, I'm going to get arrested?
Well, yeah.
I need to hear you say that. If I don't leave this building, what's going to happen?
They're going to prosecute you.
You're going to arrest me?
No, the New York City Public Library is going to prosecute you.
Okay, so I have a reasonable amount of time to leave, don't I?
We're actually now. Can you please leave?
Okay, I can't leave through that way. I got to leave through this way.
Which way? That way?
And I still need the information that I came here to get.
I'll give
Are
you
you going to help me with that?
Yeah. Whatever you need outside.
All right. I need all your cards
Yeah, cool.
and all of your names. So you're saying that you could just trespass people from public for no crime?
They don't
No
want you at
crime.
this location.
No crime. It doesn't matter what they want. I'm not breaking the
You
law.
have to leave, sir.
You going to help me get my
I'll help you outside,
information?
absolutely.
So you're just going to violate my rights over a policy, right?